and last topic. The next and last topic, which is an Australian bartender that gave the best speech of all time. An Australian bartender gave the best speech of all time. This is a personal experience. So I was in Amsterdam with my girlfriend this past summer, and we had a wild night out. We went to a sex show that weekend. I don't remember if it was that day or just part of that weekend, but it was we went out pretty hard, and it's Amsterdam, and we were exploring, and we went to this one bar that was closed, and they recommended another bar, which I'm blanking out on the name. I'll have to get it from her and say it on the next podcast. But this bar in Amsterdam, or maybe I shouldn't say it because of what I'm about to say. But just know that it's a bar in Amsterdam, and we were there like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and the bar closed. Sorry, this is midnight because it was earlier. COVID, bars were closing early, so it's probably around 11:30, 11:45. And this Australian guy gets up onto the bar. Like he's not standing on the bar. He's the bartender. One of the bartenders had these pearly white teeth, the whitest fucking teeth I've ever seen. I don't know if they're fake or what, but they were so fucking white. That's what I remember. And we're sitting in this kind of cozy, classy bar. Had the feel of an East Village bar in New York City. And we're sitting at a table across from the bar in that hallway where you walk in. So there's not a lot of space. And the bartender kind of puts himself up. It looked like he was standing on the ledge. And he's elevated over the crowd a little bit. And he just goes, "Oi, listen up." And bear with my Australian accent, by the way, because it's going to be terrible. He goes, "Oi, listen up. You don't got to get out of here. We're closing down. We're closing down at midnight. But here are the rules. We're going to keep this bar open. We have neighbors. Don't disrupt them. The rule is no smoking cigarettes outside. Or sorry, no smoking cigarettes inside. You can smoke other things. And don't be a cunt." And I was like, damn. Those are pretty good rules. And it was a longer rant. I can't remember all of it. But the gist of it was that they're closing down the bar, and they keep the bar open for an extended period of time, another couple hours, because it was COVID and people were looking to party. And the rules were you could stay in the bar. You don't be super loud. If you smoke a cigarette, you have to leave and you can't come back. You could smoke weed in the bar. People lit up immediately. They're like, "Hey, let's light up." Yeah. So people were smoking weed. People stayed around for a little bit. And at the end, he just goes, "And the last thing, most important thing, don't be a cunt. If you do that, you'll be fine. Just don't be a cunt." And I was thinking, I realized, I was thinking about that speech this week, and I realized that pretty much all self-help books and quotes, all these kind of self-improvement, self-help books, self-help quotes, whatever they are, can be boiled down to that exact phrase, which is don't be a cunt. 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 Whatever accent, whatever terrible accent you appropriate, it still applies. And so, yeah, this guy was basically like, listen, you could stay around, you could stick around and smoke weed, like letting us smoke weed, letting us talk. But he was like, listen, just don't be a fucking cunt, and we'll party after midnight. He closed the door, locked the door, and if you wanted to go out, you would tell him, "Hey, you wanna go out? You wanna leave? All right, but you can't come back in. And if you're staying inside, just don't be a fucking cunt." And so I went through a few self-improvement quotes, a few of the most popular quotes, sayings that are so cliche that have been told thousands and thousands of times again. So the first one is live each day like it's your last. Live each day like it's your last. And the Australian bartender translation of this quote is, hey, oi, don't be a cunt and you'll have a lot more days. You have live each day like it's your last. Oi, don't be a cunt and you'll have a lot more days. Don't be a fucking cunt. I like the second one a lot more better. I like the second one a lot more. I like the second one better. The other one is, you have the power to make people feel good. Oi, you can make people feel good by not being a fucking cunt. You can make people feel good by not being a fucking cunt. This is the closest I've ever come to tearing up on a podcast because this is so true. It makes me want to cry. And the last self-help quote: don't compare your journey to someone else's. Don't compare your journey to someone else's. Oi! Stop worrying about going on fucking journeys and the rest will figure itself out. And then don't be a cunt. You cunt. Stop. That a lot of people talk about the journey. I mean, I've been guilty of this, talking about the journey of podcasting, the journey of life. Everything you do nowadays can be leveraged into some sort of journey to market to people for a self-help book on how to be a podcaster, how to make money, how to fuck, whatever it is. People take their quote-unquote journeys, where in reality, most people just read about shit and then write it without actually living it. And the best way to go on a journey is just to stop going on fucking journeys. Do good work, treat people kindly, do shit that's fun for you, respect other people's opinions, doesn't mean you have to agree with them. And last but not least, don't be a cunt. It's the number one way. Every self-help book, all self-improvement. I hope to God someone writes this book. This Australian bartender should write the book, and basically how every lesson in life boils down to don't be a cunt. Like, you have the lesson, you have the story on one side, writes about life experiences. You could even take the life experiences of different people and have the story on one side, and then on the other side have the lesson. And the takeaway from every single story, whether it's good or bad, is, look, this happened because I wasn't a cunt. Whether it was good or bad, I wasn't a cunt, and this was the situation. This allowed me to blossom into the non-cunt that I am today. Don't be a cunt. I think it's also funny that cunt is a word for vagina, and pussy is also a word for vagina, but they mean two different things, completely different things. If you tell someone don't be a pussy, you're egging them on to try to do something. You're calling them soft. But if you tell someone don't be a cunt, you're basically saying shut the fuck up. It's like you're drawing action out of the person. Don't be a pussy. You're like, hey, stop trying to be stop being a pussy. And now I want you to do this action. Do it. Stop being a pussy. Just do it. And then the other one, hey, stop being a cunt. You're telling the person, stop doing this. Just fucking stop, bro. Enough. Stop being a cunt. Same, describing the same thing physically, but, context-wise, completely fucking different. And 57 minutes in, I had fun recording this solo episode. That's basically the approach that I take with these, is that I try to think of stories and look up things in the news, media, whether it's, I don't care if it's drugs, sex, politics, creativity, podcasting, art, whatever it is. I try to take a combination of experiences and also a combination of what's going on in current events and turn it into an episode that I'll enjoy talking about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fucking fun talking about this. If you want, you can check out AUXORO Premium at auxoro.supercast.tech. I have a lot of other solo episodes on there, a lot of episodes. I believe there's 12 or 13 episodes already in the backlog. So like 20 plus hours of podcasts archived already. And then you get the 2 bonus episodes per month for less than $5. If you sign up for the year, there's a free trial. And you could also gift subscriptions to someone else if you're called to it. I'll see you next week. Don't be a cunt.